All right, good evening, everyone. If you could, spread the word that we could use a little bit more help for this early mincha. It's actually the Marav that we need the help for. Okay, we're sponsored by the Fisher family, Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi Shalom ben Aram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruvain. We also learn Nishmas David ben Chaim, Lefur Shalem Afel Yomis Mechayisar, Yaakov ben Bas Yaleh, for the Schus of Avram ben Yam Benish ben Malki Yehudis. By your Klugman and family, Lefur Shalem Afel Victor Aya ben Rivka, Hinda Bas Chayisar, Yitzhak ben Tzim Medusha, Rivka Bas Shiraleh, Chana Bas Shashabina, Devara Bas Shashabina, Esther Fradel Bas Chana, Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel, Aaron ben Sarah. They should have a refuah shalema b'seich shechel Yisrael. Now there's two types of tumah. Food stuff is susceptible to contamination. When something is an nevela, in other words, it died without shchita, it's metame tumas nevela. Now we're going to see that the following items, although they can be susceptible to food contamination when they're mixed with other food, but they're not considered meat enough to be metame tumas nevela. It's a little bit of a split decision. So ha'ar, the hide, v'roitev, gravy with some sediment, v'kipa, the spices, v'olol, skin that adheres to the hide of the animal, shreds, v'atzamayis, bones, v'agidin, sinews, v'karnayim, horns, v'atlafaim, hooves. Mitztarfin l'tamei tumas achalim. They could combine to be mitamei tumas achalim, to make something susceptible to food contamination. Now, obviously, the hooves is not a food, and the horns are not a food, but they're considered a shomer, a protector, and a protector will combine with other food in order for it to be mitzdarf to a share of a kazayas, that it should be susceptible to contamination. However, avalei tumas nevelas, they're not considered meat that they should be metame like a nevela, which is metame b'mago b'masa, with contact and carrying. Kayotzibai. Now this case is really it's threading the needle. This case. When you shecht an animal and it still thrashes, so if a guy eats it, it would be considered Eiver min achai. It would be considered still a limb from a live animal. There is a din that if a yid shechts it, and he shechts the two simonim properly, the veshet and the kana, the food pipe and the windpipe, then even if it thrashes, it's already metama tumas oichlin. It's already considered a foodstuff. But here in this case, we're threading the needle. Hashoichet behemoth tameya. Here he shechts a camel, l'nochri, for a guy, umefarkeses, and it's thrashing. So the guy can't eat it yet, it's Eiver min achai. But he did shchita on it, so the din is metame tumas oichlin. It's metame tumas oichlin because for a yid, it would be considered at the stage of food, and it is food for a guy, even though for a guy now it's still Eiver min achai, but the din is, it's still metame tumas oichlin, avaloi tumas nevelas, but it's not considered to be a nevela, achitamas, until it dies, or yachiyatas as reisha, or until he cuts off its head. So thus we see, riba l'tamei tumas oichlin, we have more situations when something is susceptible to food contamination, mimasha riba l'tamei tumas nevelas, then giving contamination of a nevela, which is less cases, like we said, all those cases in the beginning of the Mishna, that they are be mitzvah for food contamination, but they're not metame as an avela. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ha'olul ha'mechunas. If we combine the shreds, and he shows that he wants them, and he combines them to the amount of a kazayas, im yesh by kazayas b'makam echad, if there's a kazayas in one place, chayiv alav, then it would be metame tumas nevela, and if he entered into the mikdash or he ate kachim, he would be chayiv karas. Now, the following, although they're hide, they're tender, and they have a din like basar, and therefore they're metame tumas nevela like basar. Elu she'oroseyen kibisaran, the following hides are tender, and therefore they're like meat, or ha'adam, the hide of a human, v'or chazir shel yishuv, the hide of domesticated swine, Reb Yosi Omer af or chazir abar, even a wild swine, v'or chatoteret shel gomel haraka, the hide of the hump of a tender camel, v'or haroy shel egel arach, and the hide of the head of a tender calf. I hope you're writing all these things down, Rich. V'or haprasais, and the hide around the hooves. V'or beis haboishus, and the hide around the genitals. V'or ashlil, the hide of the fetus. V'or shitachas ha'alya, and the hide under the tail. V'or ha'anaka, this is very important, Rich, the hide of a hedgehog. V'akayach, a chameleon. V'alta, a lizard. V'achaymet, and a snail. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Halta, the hide of a lizard, the hide of a lizard is kachilda, is like the hide of a weasel, which is not tender, and therefore it would not be like its meat. The Chulin and all of these, even though they are tender in nature, if she'ibdan, if you tan them, or shehilach behem kidei avoda, or walked upon them the amount of tanning, then they're toughened and they don't have a din of meat. And tahirin chutz me'ara adam, the skin of a man always remains like basar. Rabbi Yechon ben Nuri Yaimesh shmeina shratzim. All 8 of the shratzim, we mentioned 4 of them, but all 8 of the shratzim, their skins are like their meat. Yesh lehem, to the contrary, shmeina shratzim, all of the 8 shratzim, besides including the weasel, all of the 8 shratzim, yesh lehem oiros, their hide is distinct from the meat, and they would not be metame tumas shratzim, which is metame b'kadasha, with the share of a lentil. Those are not easy mishnayos.